Hi, everyone.
Hi, guys. So Katie got the second vaccine a couple of days ago. She's vaccinated. And we put up a sticker this morning or last night asking if you guys had any questions about the second shot. And we thought it'd be a lot easier for us to hop on here because we got a lot of questions, a very similar questions. So we're going to go through some of the questions that we got. And hopefully Katie can shed some light on her experience as well as some of the common questions about the second vaccine. So I think that we should start by just letting everybody know about your experience with the second vaccine and how it was and then how you felt afterwards.
Okay, I have to apologize. I wanted to come on earlier. I had a very eventful week, so I haven't really been able to come on and discuss. But I got my vaccine on Tuesday of last week, and I did have a lot more symptoms with the second vaccine than I did with the first vaccine. The first vaccine, I had Pfizer. It was 3 weeks ago. I had a little bit of soreness in my arm. This time, about 9 hours out, I would say I got it around 12 and around 8 o'clock at night, I started to develop body aches, chills, and a fever. The incident lasted about 12 hours. The night was a rough night. It wasn't like comfortable. I did have a lot of night sweats, and then I was fine the next day. I had some, the next day I felt much better, but I did have some like a little bit of fatigue and soreness, and around 4 or 5 o'clock I did get a little bit more body aches and weakness. And you know, but honestly, if you ask me, I would do it 150 times over again. I feel like the symptoms were relatively manageable compared to, you know, the benefit of being vaccinated. And I'm really, really, really glad I would do it. And even knowing that I got a fever and body chills and aches, I would still do it 1,000 times over again. If they told me tomorrow, hey, we could put some saline in your arm and it wasn't the vaccine, we need you to come back and do it again, I would do it again.
I agree. So we got a couple questions about the second shot. So one of the most common ones that I got was, so it was a lot of people that are in their 20s and their 30s. They want to know, since the chances of actually getting COVID are slim or getting sick from COVID are slim, why should they get vaccinated? So people are having, I think, a hard time, you know, being in that age range where you feel like you're not at risk. And why would they, you know, voluntarily get sick when the chances of getting sick from COVID are slim for them?
This is an excellent question. I think a lot of people, not only in their 20s and 30s, but also older family are kind of faced with this, the unknown of the vaccine, right? And the reality is that the complication rate of COVID-19 probability when you're a little bit younger is in your favor. So why get vaccinated? For a multitude of reasons. I'm going to tell you why. Because the side effects of the vaccine it's a known risk factor. We know about it. It's predictable. It is 12 hours in, 12 hours out. Some people get it, some people don't. We have plenty of young adults. We have plenty of people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that get very sick from COVID-19 and or bring it to a family member that gets sick from it. The unpredictability of the virus is what you are protecting yourself from, because you do not know once you get the virus how it will affect your body or someone that you love, and it is something that you cannot take back. It's one of those unfortunate things you can't regret it away, you can't pray it away. Once it is in somebody's body, it is their body and how they are going to react to it, and we can use the best medicine that we have, but we don't know the outcome. So the vaccine is It's predictable. I had a feeling I was going to get a little sick, and I did, and it was 12 hours and it was over. But now I know, like, I am not going to get COVID-19 and get very sick and need a ventilator. And that is power. That is helping the community. That is what is the reason why, even if you're 20, even if you're 30, even if you're 40, and you're not in that high risk, that you should be getting vaccinated, because you are preventing the spread to others. You are helping. You're a hero. People ask me, how can I help? What can I do for you? Get vaccinated. Do the protocol that helps keep the ERs and the hospitals, the volume down. You guys can help us help you. You guys can be a part of the solution. And by getting vaccinated, that is part of being part of the solution.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, with my age, 30s and 20s, like, it's not just about you personally. It's also about reaching herd immunity, and we cannot get there unless enough people are vaccinated or that have had COVID.
Correct.
So I think that the group that are younger have to understand that too. Like, everybody wants to get back to normalcy. Even when you're in college, there's a lot of protocols in place. You can't get back to normal life unless a huge number of us are protected against it.
And I would like to add that probability wise, you're probably going to know 20, 30, 40 people that have gotten COVID-19 and have done relatively well with it. That's just the probability. That's just the math, guys.
Right.
But the reality is there is a portion of people that get very sick and die from it. Mm-hmm. And you don't know if that's going to be you. You don't know if you get it and you get no symptoms at all, but you go to your best friend's house and guess what? She's got a grandmother and she gets it and she gets very sick. So it's very important that you remember, like, it is unpredictable, and it is important that we protect ourselves and our community.
Somebody had a question. What if you had COVID? Why should you get vaccinated?
Why? Because so when you have the infection, COVID-19, you do produce antibodies for it, correct? But they don't know how long those antibodies last, especially if you have a mild case of COVID-19, right? So if it's mild, they think those antibodies are even shorter. The vaccine provides you a longer, more predictable amount of time that you're going to be protected against COVID-19. And with the variant coming out, because we have seen variants now in South Africa and I believe in the UK, it's important that you remember you might get another strand of this, and this vaccine will help you to fight off the symptoms of COVID-19.
Okay. Did any of your colleagues get sick from their second shot?
So there were a few of us that got a little bit more of the side effects than the other. Everyone got, basically, with the exception of a few, some soreness in the arm. But I would say probably about 10% of us got the body aches, the chills, and the fever.
Okay. I don't know. I know you're not a gynecologist, but somebody came in here and said, what if you are breastfeeding or pregnant? Is the vaccine safe?
So unfortunately, they did not include pregnant women. It is unfortunate. They did not include pregnant women and breastfeeding women in the actual trials for the COVID-19 vaccine. That being said, they are, speak to your OB-GYN, because there are some women, depending upon their risk profile, that are absolutely getting the COVID-19 vaccine, as well as women that are breastfeeding. Because there's really no reason why it shouldn't be safe. A lot of reasons why we're not getting it is because it wasn't included in the trial. But many women have gotten vaccinated while they're pregnant, and it's been safe, as well as postpartum after while they're breastfeeding. So speak to your OB-GYN. I'm a pediatrician, but speak to your OB-GYN because a lot of people, especially if you're high risk and you have some risk factors, are recommending that you do get vaccinated for COVID-19. And the other thing I would add to that is if you're considering getting pregnant in the near future, 6 to 8 months, I would highly consider getting the vaccine so that you're protected before you start your journey to have children.
Okay. Why do people get sick with the second shot more than the first? Like, why is that happening?
Because your body has now seen it and is having a stronger response to it. So even when I was having chills, even when I was having fever, even when I was having body, I'm like, bring it on.
Yeah.
This is my body making the immune system.
Right.
This is my immune system working. It's telling me, yes, I'm making those antibodies. I'm protecting myself against the virus. So you have the first shot and it starts to introduce that mRNA, that spike protein, to the body, so that when you see it the second time in the second vaccine, you already have you already are going to be predisposed to have that immune response. And that's why you're having a stronger response on the second one than the first.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Okay. I actually get this question all the time, and I tell Katie, and even though we've answered it, it seems like the topic is very important to a lot of people. So what about kids and allergies, or adults and allergies? A lot of people are very nervous to get the vaccine and have a reaction to the vaccine. So what is your stance on that, and how do you feel about it?
Okay, so first of all, unfortunately right now, children were also not included in the trials, and that's because we were really targeting that high-risk population that was getting sick from it. So we have just started opening up trials to children under the age of 12. So that will be something that will probably not roll out for a little while. So that's number one. Number two, allergies. We get this question a lot. So, anytime, whether you put a vaccine, whether you eat something, whether you ingest something, anytime you put something into your body, there is always going to be a risk that there is a reaction to that. That is just, the pros and cons of science, right? So you can always have a reaction to it. But with this particular vaccine, it's a very, very, very small probability that you're going to have a reaction. And with that, there's also, when I got my vaccination, there is staff on standby waiting with EpiPens and the medications that are required for an anaphylactic or allergic reaction. So you are going to be well protected. Right. You are going to be observed for 30 minutes. And, you're going to be taking a smaller risk versus the risk of the unknown of getting the virus. So you always have to weigh the risk versus the reward. And in my opinion, the risk of having an allergic reaction when you have a full staff of people waiting there to help you is less than that of getting getting COVID-19.
Right. I was going to say, do it in a hospital, or if you have the ability when it's available to you, find the safest place that you feel more comfortable getting it done. If it's at your local, or not pediatrician, but at your local doctor or somebody, make sure that you have the people that are around you that you feel most comfortable around to be there, in case something happens. Okay, so somebody actually just asked a question. Do kids ever need to get the vaccine? So this is in the future, so
yes, so kids are spreaders, right? They're our vectors, and they're going to school. So eventually we will be vaccinating children against COVID-19. And although they tend to fare very well, so a lot of people are very, very nervous about their child getting COVID-19. I treat so much of it. I see a lot of parents, it's a very fear-provoking situation to get that positive COVID-19 test when you have a child and they have a positive result. I will tell you that most of my patients do very well with it. Mild cough and cold, fever, similar to like what the adults are having, but on a more mild scale. But there are post-viral complications. There's MISC, which is multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. And it's important to keep our children protected if we can, if that becomes available, because not only are you protecting them, but then you're also protecting the people that they could possibly bring you home to.
Right. Okay, so do you think this is something that we'll be having to get every year, like the flu shot?
So it depends. So right now we are seeing some mutation in the virus, and so it's kind of like that race. If we could get everybody vaccinated and create herd immunity, there would be a chance that we wouldn't, have to keep taking it every year. But unfortunately, we just don't know. It's really going to depend upon the virus and how the virus mutates and what it looks like in a year from now. I wish I could give you guys the answer to that. The good news is that unlike influenza, the COVID-19 vaccine is actually 94% effective, which is amazing. The research are showing that it's highly effective. So if we can get everyone vaccinated and protected, I do think we stand a much better chance of not needing it seasonally. Okay. But I can't answer that 100% for sure.
And then the last question, because I think we've got to wrap this up, is do you think they should save the second doses like they're doing in the UK to distribute more to the population so that at least more people can get the first shot?
So if you're asking me personally what I feel about it, I think you're kind of starting to get on shaky ground in the sense that this particular vaccine was studied with 2 vaccines being given in an interval of 3 to 4 weeks, depending upon the company that you're utilizing. Pfizer is 3, and I think Moderna is 4. And we haven't really studied what the immunity is if it is spread out between 6 weeks to 6 months. So you're taking a pretty, you're taking a risk in doing that. And I personally don't feel, because it hasn't been studied and the research hasn't backed that, that I don't feel like it's the best option. However, I understand that when you have a lot of people that are getting sick and the hospitals are getting packed, by giving more people the vaccine and instead of having a smaller portion that are getting 2, have a larger portion getting 1. I understand the theory behind it. But if you're asking me personally, I think it's better to do it the way that it was studied, which is 2 shots, 3 to 4 weeks apart, depending upon the company.
Okay. We do have a few more questions, but maybe we'll do part 2 tomorrow or next week. But please feel free to send in more questions if you have any more.
And leave us DMs because we can always answer them. So at least you have a resource, even if we don't get to it. But maybe we will do another one.
We'll do a part 2, and we'll do updates as we get more information. And Katie will answer all your questions. I'm just here for support.
You're like a co-host.
I'm her co-host.
Your co-host. Yeah.
But thank you for joining. We are going to save this live in our IGTV if you want to check back. And
which company did your back? Mine was Pfizer. I got Pfizer.
Mm-hmm. So, and if we want to do another live on the differences between the 2 vaccines, we can do that too.
Yes.
So any other questions, feel free to comment below or send us a DM and she will get back to you. Thanks guys. Have a great day.
Bye guys.